Site manager neglected to take care of my property, so I cost the property management company over $500K. Some background: I 35M own a 72 units apartment complex. When I bought it, it was in a good shape and I spent several million getting all apartments renovated. The rent wasn't increased for any of the tenants and I made sure that it never went up by more than $50 a year for lease renewals baked into the leases. Shortly after all the renovations were completed, I started the search for a property management company and ultimately settled on one that seemed well aligned with wanting to put the tenants first. As we were doing the contracts, I had my real estate friend also look at them. Between him and my lawyer, they recommended having a clause added in there. The short of it is, if there are any legal actions brought up against me for the apartment complex due to neglect of the property management staff, the property management will be responsible for all those costs and any legal fees incurred. This wasn't added in secret, and the legal team from the property management company agreed and everything was finalized. They took over the management of the complex a month later. I was fairly hands-off and only visited the site every 3-4 months. Other than that, I'd have the monthly updates sent to me by the manager on site. A few months ago, I found out that a couple of the apartments had been left in severe shambles after the tenants moved out, and the cleaning crew we had took care of it. I didn't find out until after the fact that it was not completely accurate because one of the apartments apparently had a bad roach infestation in the storage closet outside the apartment. After the new tenants moved into that apartment, they brought up the issue to the site manager. In the monthly reporting, the site manager claimed that maintenance staff tried to address with it traps and bug bombs. I didn't think too much of it and left it at that. Next month, the same thing. And the third month, after receiving the monthly report, I called the site manager stating there is a reoccurring issue and I wanted it taken care of professionally at that point. The month's rent was waived for the tenants in that apartment, and they were put up at a hotel for a week while the issue was to be addressed. Once they returned to their apartment is when the issue started. The site manager, either by mistake or by negligence, didn't communicate with the exterminators the extent or the location of the infestation. Instead of the storage closet, the apartment was fumigated, and after that, the roaches made their way into other apartments in the same building and the nearest building, and the problem got so much worse. The same option was given to all the tenants in that building, waiving the month's rent and putting them up in a hotel for a week while the issue is addressed. They all took that offer up, however one of the tenants decided to take legal action. While I wasn't happy about it, I understood where they were coming from, having their lives disrupted by something that should have been addressed properly to start. As we were midst negotiating with them during mediations, my lawyer reminded me of the clause with the property management company and suggested we give them what they want. That is where I started my nuclear revenge. I had the rest of the tenants from the 2 impacted buildings be suggested to anonymously that one of the tenants had filed a lawsuit for the damage and they should do the same by getting in on it. Through the mediation, I pretended to be outraged at the whole matter. The negotiation started at 3 months of free rent, but ultimately we all settled on 1 year of free rent for all those tenants. Overall, that came out to 16 apartments with rent averaging from $1,700 monthly that the property management had to pay for due to the negligence of the site manager, equaling to roughly $325,000 in just the lost rent they had to pay for. And the cherry on top, due to the breach in service for property maintenance, they also have to provide free services for up to 6 months while I seek out a new property management company, costing them an additional $146,000, and still pay for the legal fees on top of that. Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1, you need to take your friend and your lawyer out for a drink for having you slip that clause into your contract. Well done. Redditor 2, that's what they get for being essity at their job. Good on you. Redditor 3, you do realize that half of Reddit now wants to move into that complex, don't you? Redditor follow up, here's me sat here thinking, Jesus, this guy owns 72 apartments and the vast majority of my friends cannot dream of even owning one. How is that fair? I'm not saying he's a bad landlord, but that all landlords with more than a couple of properties, or enough to provide for a reasonable life, it is a job after all, are greedy. So many people struggle to afford to buy food after paying rent, and yet I'm yet to hear of a large-scale landlord willing to reduce their own already huge income to help people live a reasonable life. This guy's situation, he does sound better than most, especially giving the heads up, but still the system is extremely broken and those with the influence to help people sit idly and do nothing. Story 2, Call took me out of the closet, let me spill your own terrible awful into the world. I will be honest, this story is not mine, but about my 2 cousins, Alex and Steve. My mother is originally from a small town in the coastal region of my country. She left when she married my dad, but her two sisters stayed in the town. Alex is one of the sons of my youngest aunt, Steve is the son of my oldest. When they grew up, both moved to a big city in the region for college, but took way different paths. Alex went into an art-focused career and after 2 semesters came out as gay, while Steve went STEM and bathed himself in the machismo homophobic culture of the region. You can guess they were not exactly close and, as far as gossip goes, they pretty much hated each other. As far as Alex's sexuality went, it was a well-known secret among the cousins and his brother's teens and young adults, people with social media basically, but was never acknowledged in front of my grandma, the other adults or even his own parents. That was the context. Now let's get to the drama that unleashed on December 2017, at our family's Christmas party that has always took place in my grandma's old townhouse. By midnight, Steve was drunk and looking for a fight, and he thought Alex would be the perfect prey. While not the exact words, you could say this was the statement he shouted in the middle of the dance floor. Hey, Alex, where is your girlfriend? I don't see her around. Oh, yeah, you don't have one. Why is that? Hey, Auntie, you know why your son didn't bring a girlfriend? Haven't you heard? Oh, that's because he is a sissy fod. He FCK guys, or not, he lets guys FCK him, like the little BTCH he is. Alex was speechless, and so was the rest of the family, including my grandma. They musicians even stopped the music playing. But before someone could even say something against Alex, he threw the bomb trigger warning. At least I FCK with humans, but let's not forget that your first girlfriend was the neighbor's donkey. You even tried to force me to FCK her once, didn't you? And hell went loose. You see, in this particular area of my country, there is the extended myth that some men, especially teenagers, commit bestiality with donkeys. And in rural areas. Is not entirely untrue. But it obviously is never spoken that openly or casually, especially when they are outsiders present. Like Steve's girlfriend from college, who he had invited. The poor girl literally threw up in the middle of the party while she started soothing herself and crying like there was no tomorrow. To make an already long story a little shorter, my parents, thankfully my dad doesn't drink and could drive, offered to take her back to the city. We left the party in the mid of shouting, punches, someone fainting at some point, and whatnot, but I would not post this here if this had ended there. Steve's now ex-girlfriend told what had happened to her city friends, to her parents, and basically anyone who would like to hear it. Steve was already known as a donkey F-ker all around the campus before he had even come back from vacation, and his social life crumbled to dust. There was also a lot of cyberbullying involved, and he ended quitting university. He went back to the old town and is currently the owner of a bar. He also married a local woman, if anyone wonders what happened to his love life. On the other hand, Alex ended school and he stayed in the city as a designer. His homosexuality was basically overlooked by everyone for obvious reasons, and he is in fact my very Catholic grandma's favorite grandson. The funny part of it all? With time this has been basically thrown under the rug in my family. We still hold Christmas parties at the old townhouse. Alex and Steve keep their distances but can actually speak to each other without murder intent, and we all agreed to forget what happened in December 2017. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, you build 1,000 bridges and no one calls you the bridge builder but you duck one donkey. Redditor 2, so wait, did your cousin actually duck a donkey, or was everyone just willing to accept that it was something he'd do? Redditor 3, I did not see donkey ducker in my future when I clicked. That was a ride. Redditor 4, so, the donkey ducker didn't deny it? Redditor follow-up, I feel like the GF immediately believing it. There has to have been some hints along the way. Redditor 5, yep, donkey F-ker beats sissy fod. Redditor follow-up, I guess I'd say there is more depth to it. The donkey thing works as an insult because it is something that is actually bad. As such, it damages the reputation of the recipient for rational, social bystanders. The homophobic slur is not an insult in the usual way. It just works to hurt someone because there is homophobia. It does not tell any objectively bad thing about the victim.